Hey up lads and lasses, Damfire here, and today we are looking at infinite Lagrange, as you can see up here. So, it's a new game that's come out pretty recently. I think it's only been out a couple of weeks or something like that. It's currently Europe only. I think you need to use a VPN if you're in the US, and it's blocked on... I think it's blocked just in the US at the moment and Asia. It's in Europe though, so and there is a PC version of it, and you can get it on both Android and iOS. So it's pretty cool. Anyway, so today I'm actually not doing a review. I will do that probably on Sunday. But we are going to go through some basic little tips for new players to sort of help you get to grips with some of the game mechanics and help you make a solid early start so you can get into the mid-game and be a bit safer, so you don't get blown up by somebody. Especially if you're starting on a older server where you're going to be behind. This will help you out quite a bit because this will let you push up and try and catch up as fast as possible. So we'll jump in, and so the first thing I want to talk about is unions. Join a good union straight off the bat if you can. It's going to seriously help you out. Getting into a union is going to be massive for you. You're going to get the protection of allies, especially if it's a union that's quite active. It's certainly the way to go. You do spawn in with a shield. This will stop people from attacking your city directly, but it does not stop them attacking your fleets. So be aware of that if you're sending your mining fleets out, that they can get attacked by enemies. If you're in an early server and you see someone that's harassing your mining ships, hit them back, because you might as well, you're not going to lose your fleet taking a mining ship out. So do so. It may stop them from going, oh, this guy's actually playing. I'm going to leave him alone now. So bear that in mind as well. The reason I suggest joining a union though is so you can eventually move down and conglomerate into a union area where you have multiple allies in close proximity. This is going to be ultimately as safe as you can get, because if anyone does come for you and you might not have the fleet capable of defending yourself, again on later servers this is going to be more important. This will allow you to call your allies in, they can bring in and smash whatever is trying to attack you, so much safer that way. Now your shield lasts for about 3 days, and you can rush to zone 4 in those 3 days. Zone 4 is where it's going to allow you to move your base, so this is going to be very important. So to do so, and this is what I recommend doing, is if you go into your construction tab and you open up, if you hit your expand zone, it will tell you what requirements you need to get to the next expansion. What I recommend doing early game is very much going for these requirements, starting your expand zone off. Once your expand zone's going, you can come back, because it will still give you the 2 build slots free while it's expanding, to come back and maybe grab some of the eco stuff to help you boost your economy. For example, when you're going from zone 2 to zone 3 and you've got zone 3 being upgraded, you can come back and start upgrading your small integrated plant, which is going to give you a flat buff of metal production, crystal and deuterium production, which is going to be very useful. I don't recommend building the habitat, bar the fact that I believe it needs you to get habitat 1 for the requirement. There are better ways of getting this new e-coins. So just try and get the requirements, cap out what you can here. It will always try and get you to cap out the generic port anyway, so as soon as you've got a generic port upgrade done, make sure you're building utility ships that will allow you to further expand. You'll have a resource port and it'll have a number here similar to this, probably lower. Do this as fast as possible, get your utility ships out, because the longer they are mining, the more income you're going to get, and it's going to let you expand into the next zones and much faster. Do this till zone 4 at minimum, because at zone 4 you'll get the outpost command. This will allow you to build the outpost. Now the outpost requires 100,000 metal and 10,000 crystal, no deuterium. This will allow you to teleport your base to a new location, and this is where you can start conglomerating with the rest of your union and getting them all into one place for safety in numbers, as it were. When moving, there is some choices you can make as well. Make sure you're trying to move, well, obviously as close as you can to where your union's going to decide to pull down to and stay in. But if you can set up a outpost on top of a mine, you'll have a option similar to this dock. If you click that, it will allow you to build the outpost attached to the metal zone or the crystal zone, and these will give you flat buffs once your base has relocated. So just for an example, because I am doing this over here, we're going to relocate to this point. So there you go. We have relocated onto this mine well, it's done now. And this will give us a flat 900 crystal yield, which is massive. I was earning 1,600 earlier, and we're now earning over 2,000. So it's going to be very important. Later on, you're going to start running out of crystal. It's a lot harder to mine as well. Just for the amount that gets brought back isn't that much. So certainly look at jumping onto a crystal mine if you can. If you are running short on metal though, do look at metal. Next up to talk about is fleets. We'll talk about fleets a little bit and how they work and what you should be aiming for. So the research box that you're given at the start, I don't have it anymore. It will be in that slot though. The top line of that has a load of FG300 blueprints and hull variants. Now, the reason I recommend going down that route first is due to the fact that after the recon, which is actually very useful, do grab the recon. You will have to anyway before you get to the armored. Only build one recon ship or maybe two, keep them in separate fleets, and this will allow you to move them around, liaise with cities, etc. But the armor type has this base 15 armor, which is reducing damage taken by a considerable margin. It doesn't work against energy weapons, but early game, most people are only running FG300 multi-rolls and running a lot of them. The armor type pretty much almost negates the FG300s entirely. So if you can get 10 armored out with the multi-rolls behind them, this is due to the fact that armored types will sit in the front line, where the multi-roll will sit in the mid. So the armored are always in front and will always usually be primaried. So yeah, definitely try and rush to these armored on that research box if you can, and then build a bunch of them, get some multi-rolls out as well, and you'll have a pretty solid fleet that can take a lot of people out. If not, they're not going to want to attack you anyway, because a drawing situation where maybe only one ship is alive isn't going to help either of you. So don't worry too much about that as well. The other benefits that you can do as well with the recon ships is if you come over to a city and you have these trade points, if you liaise with it, you can find some ships in there. Those ships seem to be generally just flat out stronger than any of the early game BPs that they give you through that box, especially the damaged ones. The ones to be noteful of are the Rager. That's due to the fact that it's got just massive amounts of damage output, and it ignores a lot of the armor due to the alpha strike capability that it has. It does like 400 damage versus the 25 that your FG300 multi-roll does. So do bear that in mind as well. You can happily buy ships right up until you get some very good blueprints, and then maybe switch out some of the bought ships for some of the blueprint ships. You don't unfortunately get XP for bought ships, but it shouldn't matter too much early game anyway. So once you've set up and you've got yourself in a nice situation, you've got yourself a nice mining area, you're within friendly territory, as it were, that's where the game really starts opening up, and sort of mid-game sort of level. During this time, you'll be getting these points for logging in every day and activeness for your action points. This is for killing fleets, sending off mining ships, reconning an area, etc. So do try and keep these up. Obviously, trying to kill 2,000 ships is pretty ridiculous. Yeah, that's. I don't think anyone's capable of doing that. And this server that I'm on's in its second week. So yeah, don't worry too much about that. But it will give you a lot of this currency. What I recommend doing with that currency is saving up for the 1,000 cost financial plan, because this is going to triple the amount that you basically get out of it, which is obviously going to be very useful later on. When you've done that, my next recommended purchase is these United Tech files until you get the Winged Hussar. This Winged Hussar is a destroyer. It's very, very capable. It comes with this massive heavy cannon on the front with 400 damage, and it will absolutely decimate armored fleets. So if you start seeing a lot of people running these armored fleets, try and grab hold of this through these chests. You're pretty much guaranteed one, or more or less. You have a 50% chance of getting it every single time. So do try and grab that. If you get it on your first go, like I did, I'd lucked out. Feel free to start looking at the market, black market techs. These have a very low chance of actually giving you a ship, but they have a very high chance of giving you research points, and research points give you the ship and aircraft BP files. These have a 100% chance of giving you a ship. So this is a more free-to-play friendly way of grabbing it. I do say free-to-play because this game really doesn't have much pay to win. The biggest thing with this game is, even if you get all these amazing blueprints, if you're not high enough zone, you can't build them. If you're struggling to get that zone up, it's probably due to resources, and there's no way to get extra resources at all, bar you can liaise with the cities, and they do sell resource packs, but they don't give you that much. The best way of getting resources early on is through the main missions. As you can see, we're getting 225,000 metal here for upgrading my military port. We're getting loads for just completing the chapter itself. So if you do get a bit low, consider looking here and going, oh, I only need to get one level of, say, the mining platform to give me 80k. And that's going to give me, you know, enough to maybe get the zone out or get some of the military ports out. So keep going with the main missions. Do look at them from time to time. Try to keep them up and level with where you are. As you can see at the moment, it says military port reaches level 5. That's what I'm currently working on. So do keep going with these and try and keep them up while you're zoning. Another note while zoning, especially a little bit later on around zone 5, you can start doing some very, very useful things. Because the expansion zone, when this is actually upgrading and you've clicked expand and you paid the metal cost for it, it doesn't take your 2 other slots out. So use this time to go back and try and grab your eco buildings. For example, in Zone 3 and Zone 2. In Zone 2, you have the small integrated plants, which you talked about earlier. These give you a nice little just flat bonus crystal, metal, and deuterium production. In Zone 3, we have the smelting plant. These can give up to 50,000 metal production at its max tier, and crystal, again, a load of crystal coming from these. So do come back while the zone's expanding, as you won't have any. It's probably the best time to do it. This is due to the fact that chances are your military port's going to be maxed out anyway, so you don't need to upgrade that. Often it's going to ask you to max out warehouses as well, and shipyards. So when you get to the expanding zone, usually what you've maybe ignored a little bit are your eco buildings. Just start getting them off during these expansion times. It will help your eco out. And this game is going to be all about the eco throughout the entire game, just because of the way it's designed. You run out of resources very, very quickly later on. Early game, not so much, but later on you are just going to flat out zero out on resources on a daily basis. I have done several times already, especially when you have the costs of outposts and stuff coming in. As again, 100,000 metal is quite a lot of metal, especially when your upgrades are starting to cost 300,000, 350,000 and that sort of thing. Expansions are costing metal only, and they're going to start costing upwards of 1 million metal to keep those up as well. Just something to note, if you get any defensive or armored ships, if you're lucky from the black market, do make sure that they have got a better base value than the FG300s before deciding to build them. And make sure that they are going to sit on the frontal area, front row of your fleet. This way they will be the ones taking the majority of the damage. Sometimes you do see ships prioritize and targeting behind in the middle and back row, but more often than not, they will attack the front row first. So that's why it's very important to try and get those defensive ships out. Anyway, guys, this is going to be a little mini beginner's tips guide. I will be doing some more in-depth things on mining and stuff as I unlock some certain bits and pieces. There's some fantastic buildings that give 10% upgrades and that kind of thing. You get mining outposts, which could potentially be very useful as well. As I get into the game a little bit more and I can get some more details from the devs, I'll go into more detail about what the stats are, what armor's actually doing and the calculations. So do hit like, comment and subscribe so you can catch more content. Hit the bell icon if you want. That's completely up to you. I hate notifications as well, so don't worry about that. But yeah. Definitely check out the next videos. I will be going to more depth on specific elements of the game, and I hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you guys, and I'll catch you next time.